All
Yeah,
right.
no worries.
All right. Good morning, evening, or afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to One Up Podcast. And today it is me again, of course, Milos Bukarec, your host, and our second host is, as always, George Martinez, with our guest today, Prentice Banzet. Did I pronounce that right? I did, I think, right?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Hell
sir.
yeah, cool, man. So Prentice is actually, I believe, a camera operator. He's been a camera operator for quite a bit. Worked on a bunch of stuff, including some feature films, commercials, and a bunch of other stuff just like that, man. That is super cool. So how you been, man?
I'm good. I'm good. Just trying to work, and recently had a baby, so I'm just dealing with a new fatherhood and working.
Hey, congratulations, man. It's kind of funny. One of the people we just talked to recently had the same thing. He's talking about working and working and having a kid and all that in the first place. That's
Yeah.
that's kind of cool. So we met at TCC, man. TCC. That
Yes,
is.
sir.
So George over here also went to TCC. He was actually, I think, a year or two before us. So I don't think he's actually met you. But
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Okay.
but yeah, he went through the same thing, with Neely and all that stuff, man. And I think you also met your lady at TCC too, right?
Oh, okay. Nice. Nice.
No, right? No, I mean you met your
So
lady,
you know
right?
the OGs. So you know the OGs. That's what matters.
Yeah, man. So yeah, man, TCC did a lot for us. Like I said, for I guess shit.
You lost your
Fuck, I
train of
lost my train of
thought.
thought. God damn it! Not seeing him is so fucking weird, man. Our setup is weird. No, whatever. Yeah, man. So how was the whole college experience, man? How did that prep you for working in the field?
Well, it really just laid out a good foundation. Just good building blocks, because there's definitely way, way, way more to pick up on set and through experiences and trial and error and failure. Inevitably. But school there was some stuff that I'm like, man, I'm glad I learned that in school, because there's some people that don't know that, and then there's just like some stuff I'm like, why didn't we get taught that? Like that's the stuff we should have been doing.
Like, what's an
But-
example of something you wish you were taught?
Just well, I guess let me start. Well, I started in camera, and but like the last 3 years, I've been I moved to G&E, so which is grip and electric. So I've started, as a grip swing, doing electric and grip, and then so like that stuff is the example, because we had no class that was like a grip and electric class. Like we didn't learn about power and distribution of power, and the things that can really get you hurt, the dangerous things. That like there's just a lot of stuff that, especially just like with grip and electric, that we didn't really get taught, like in our lighting classes and stuff like that. But it's definitely gives you a decent foundation, just to like, it's like reading a book, but not completely taking it all in. But you have to do it. Like you can read it, but it's with experience is where you really learn.
Yeah, it's more nuanced once you actually get the experience on it.
Absolutely, man. And I think one of the most valuable things about college was the connections, obviously. Like I said, if it wasn't for TCC, I wouldn't have met the people I work on this podcast with. Obviously, wouldn't have met you. Wouldn't have met half of the guests we've had on the podcast so far. So, and all the work that I've got through the ages. So, what did you start out with, man? What did you start out working on when you left TCC with as respect to film and stuff?
Yeah. So Neely, actually, he was able to get me an internship at one of the rental houses in Dallas, which is electric, light, and power. And so I did my internship there, and then I guess I did well enough on and they kept me on part time after that. And then I stayed on part time on the camera side, where I was like cleaning lenses and prepping, camera gear and cameras and stuff. And then I started doing camera PA work. And then about a year into that, opportunity came up on the electric, light, and power side. So I got asked for if I wanted to work full time, and I started doing that. And then that's why I just, I originally wanted to be a DP, but at this point, my focus is more on being a gaffer and just, really understanding light and how to work it, how to shape it. those kinds of things. So, but since school, like through ELP, I've worked on all types of commercials and indie features. I just finished. I was a best boy grip on an indie feature called Corsicana a couple months ago, and that has a couple big names: Isaiah Washington, Stacey Dash. Another guy, his name's Noel. I can't think of his last name right now, but he's the guy that plays Hector in Fast and the Furious. So
nice.
That was pretty cool for me because like Fast and Furious is like one of my like favorite movies. So that was cool that I was able to like quote a line to him, and he was like, "Oh, that's love," and like shook up with me and stuff. So that was cool. But it's really, I've done a lot of stuff, man. It's crazy. Like when I think about it, sometimes I'm just like, man, like there's still a lot of stuff I want to do and a lot of stuff I can learn and pick up on. But just already to this point, I'm satisfied but not satisfied. But it's cool. Like I worked on Miss Juneteenth and just seeing the stuff that it's doing and the awards that it's winning and knowing how we did it and the budget that we were on and the package that we had. So it feels good to see the hard work, get some notoriety.
So have you been in the variety of like feature films so far? As far as get an idea of like what it's like to work on something really low budget and then something with a little bit more of a moderate budget?
Okay. So for instance, Miss Juneteenth, that was a low budget indie feature, and we shot that with a Titan tube kit. So we had 8 Titan tubes. We had a S60, S30, and I believe 1 or 2 M18s. And we had 20. It was a 20-day shoot. We did everything with those lights, and the way our gaffer was able to, Matt was the gaffer on that. I was a grip on Miss Juneteenth, and the way our gaffer Matt was able to work with that package, he made it look like it was a really big budget. But
hey Prentice, my camera guy's telling me you're kind of pointing the thing at the ceiling, because unfortunately we can't see you. He's the only one that can see you. He's asking if you can maybe point it more towards your face. Yeah, we're recording.
Oh, yeah, no, I didn't know you were recording. My bad. I didn't know you could see me. Okay,
yeah. Well, I mean, we can't see you, but our camera guy can. It's going into our camera feed.
Oh, my bad, cameraman. My bad.
You're good. Like I said, so it's kind of funny. We can't see you, but he can. So that's why he's telling us, "Hey, go ahead."
And we have Milos keep staring at the computer screen.
Yeah, I'm
just look at your camera.
I'm looking at the blame. Oh, you're right. Look at my camera. My bad. Yeah, sorry guys. Technical difficulties. Interesting stuff. I'm sorry, man. So sorry to cut you off. Keep going. I apologize. You were talking about how you shot Juneteenth. How y'all shot it in 20 days.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, so we shot that in 20 days, and then it was really cool to see how we executed that. And the DP on that was actually was Spike Lee's DP, the DP that did She's Gotta Have It on Netflix. He was the DP on that. So it was a super beautiful look and aesthetic and mise en scene that he was able to create even with the low budget. But then, like, as far as when you go onto a big budget, like I did a Super Bowl commercial for Kia, and that was with Josh Jacobs, and it was for the Super Bowl last year, and that was over, that was a couple $1 million budget at least, and we had camera cars and all kinds of stuff on that, and we shot at the Oklahoma State Stadium, and like, so you can see when there's a big budget, you can see it everywhere. You can see it in the crew size, the locations, the gear. you can definitely always see the budget in the gear.
Absolutely, man. So is that like the biggest difference you would say working on, say, commercials as compared to like a smaller feature? What would be the biggest differences kind of between working on those two, and which one do you like more?
For me, the major difference, it's not too much of a difference as far as like what you're doing. It's like, obviously on commercials, it's not as narrative as a movie,
of course,
so sometimes it's just kind of, cut and dry, and it's just there. It's like, point and shoot, but you light it and make it look a little better than point and shoot. So, but then when you talk about a movie or commercials that are actually, trying to tell a story or convey a message, I enjoy those more, just from, I don't know, I just get a little extra, itch from that. Like we did, for Thanksgiving, I was on this Cowboy shoot with Dak Prescott, and he like surprised the veterans and like donated a whole bunch of stuff to them and whatnot. And my father's a veteran also, so that was like something really cool for me to be a part of, personally. So it's like you never know, especially with like these commercials and stuff. Like you know a little bit, they give you enough information to pull you in, but not enough information to make you run off. So then you go learn and you see what you're shooting and what you're working on, and sometimes it's really cool, and sometimes it's just basic, and you set up some lights and you sit there and you get paid to sit there and watch some lights while people are doing interviews. So, and to answer your other part two of your question, I guess my favorite, my favorite to work on would probably be narratives, just because I enjoy lighting, and you obviously get a little bit more range and creative ability and artistic license with narrative stuff and music film, music videos and those kinds of things. And like I did a music video with a country singer named Paul Cawthon. He's from Dallas area. I guess he's kind of big, but it's on YouTube. And we did it at this bar in Fort Worth, and it was really cool, but not really my music. I don't really listen to country music like that, but even the aesthetic and the stuff that we were able to do, and like it was one of my favorite shoots thus far, just because of the full creative license that you have on something like that.
Man, that's awesome. So are most of the shoots you work on union then, or are they more independent?
It's a good mix. So I'm like right now, me personally, I'm not. I haven't gone union yet. I have the days. I just haven't made the decision to.
Gotcha.
I'm just still kind of on the fence about it. But I've still worked on, because when I was working at ELP, there'd just be certain times I would be on jobs that were union. So I've worked on union gigs, like that Super Bowl commercial. It was a union gig. It was 10 days, and that was in Oklahoma. Super cold. It was in January.
Oh my God.
What are some of the biggest like pros to being union and cons to it? Since we live here in Texas, it's like right to work. You don't really have to be union.
Yeah, exactly. It's a right to work state. So and I don't, like, me personally, I don't want to speak on it too much, because I don't know that much about it. Right. Just because, like, from what I know, you're not guaranteed any like additional work or anything like that. You still have to pay dues, and the insurance is good, but I guess depending on how much you want to pay, you could always have better. So, but they do go to bat for you. Like they are part of the reason that gig workers and stuff in the state of Texas were able to get like the COVID stuff. They were part of the reason we were put on to the list to be, part of the people that were given benefits and those kind of things. So they do go to bat for you in those kinds of in that regard. But I didn't like the fact that I have to pay dues, and then I'm not guaranteed any work, and then the insurance is kind of iffy and whatnot. So I was just like, I don't like have to do it, especially since I'm in Texas. So I just haven't done it yet.
Do you know if the dues are like, is it a flat rate, or does it vary depending on like the amount of work you get?
No, I don't think it's not. It's a flat rate, but it's not. It's calculated based on something else, not necessarily on the work you get. When that comes into play, is just a matter of like when you qualify per se to join the union. So you have to have X amount of days, to be able to apply. So that's the only time work, comes into it. Is so I don't know. I don't like the fact that like it's a couple $1,000s every, so like I think every quarter you pay, like quarter dues or whatever. Yeah. So I just didn't like that. I mean, because at least if you guarantee me more work or, something like that. But obviously where that comes into play though is like when shows come into town that are union shows, they only want union people. So like, for instance, like The Walking Dead, when they shoot in Austin, like I'm not going to get a call for them because I'm not in the union. So
gotcha.
That those kinds of things, or like certain music videos. A lot of music videos are union shoots, so I'm not on too many music videos because I'm not in the union. Those kinds of things.
And I guess for like big productions like a TV show where they have to use union, it's probably better for them to use people who are union, because even if they got non-union people, they'd still be operating within union rules, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah,
exactly.
So what's interesting is, just hearing all this from you, and at least some of the positive you're talking about. One of our last guests, Jorg Victor, whatever he goes by, this Stanislaw something. Yeah, we know him as George Hernandez, but I think he's worked with you before as well on some stuff.
Yes, sir. Yeah,
and
I've worked with him on Manos de Oro, which is a short film, and then I worked with him on Corsicana.
Oh, he was on Corsicana, nice. He was talking to us, how he was on some big union shoots just up in, was it in Washington State, and saying, that was, he had some not so good things to say about unions, I guess. But I mean, I'm glad, that, you're up here basically kind of having the opposite view of it almost, where it's good. It's kind of nice to have.
And he is a camera guy also. And like I said, I've kind of shifted away from camera. I mean, I still do my own stuff here on the side, but as far as like in the professional world, I've just kind of I've been heading in the G&E direction, and like I said, I'm trying to hone my lighting skills and being able to see things and know why this reflection's there, or why what's going on, and when I look, so those kinds of things, because I eventually want to be a DP, and I feel you got to have both.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Balance both of those.
I think whenever I was in school, like most people went in, they're like, they only want to be cinematographers or they want to be directors, and it's like either of those two. Like, the one person we had like I was gonna say the one person we always had trouble finding was somebody who liked doing audio, because everyone's like trying to pass it off to the next person.
I always do audio for our projects, but it's always reluctantly. I'll be honest. I'll be like, "Come on, man! I want to do something else."
That's like a running joke. That's like a running joke on sets. Yeah. Like if you want like steady work, be a sound guy.
Yeah,
there are very many.
Exactly.
Like for instance, like on Corsicana, they couldn't find a sound guy that was local, so they had to fly a guy in from out of state.
Oh my god!
So I was like, man, we could have been. I could have been doing that. And they're like, man, and they're like, and like when you see them work, like obviously they still have, their job is still hard and still has their own difficulties. But like as far as like they come to, they're like one of the last people on set. They're one of the first people off set. Like so they at most of the time they have a cush job most of the time, but they have their struggles as well. But I'm sure anyone will tell you G&E's got it the toughest.
You should have seen Milos doing audio for one of our short films. He was just laying on the couch with the
oh my god, yes. That was so many years ago up in Denton, man. Oh my god, we were shooting this short thing. I hurt my knee like I think the day before or something, and they were shooting a scene in the kitchen. And so I was just laying on the couch and threw the boom over the kitchen table, just having them over the back of the couch, just having it pointed to the kitchen table, getting the audio that way. And I mean, even though it was like really dumb, it actually still turned out pretty damn well. Unfortunately, the film was never released because we had an issue with one of the actresses decided to stop showing up when we were almost done with the film, and so that was kind of a unfortunate thing. So my beautiful couch things will never really come to pass as something important.
No, but that's what happens with short films, man. I've had a few like that. People always end up wanting to back out, or they say they'll do something and then they don't realize what they really committed to and don't want to follow through.
That's something I've run into a lot with musicians. They'll want to do music videos, but once it gets started, they don't realize how much work goes into it, and sometimes they're like, "Oh, I thought we were just gonna take an hour or something."
Yeah,
no, like especially if you want it to be really, like if you want it to be good, you want to get views, right? So it's gonna take some time. I mean, like I had an interview, like I was just on an interview yesterday, doing interviews for a company, and like it, it's just basic interviews, and it still, takes about an hour, it takes some time to set up, so.
Man,
especially with music videos, like I don't know, and like with music videos, I feel like you should take your time more so with those, like because you can do so much because there's no rules. The rules of filmmaking don't apply so much as like in narrative films and those kinds of things. So there's a lot more artistic license in music videos. So that's where I'm trying to get more into now. Is I'm trying to branch off into more so music videos and those kinds of things, but Texas just isn't. It's a super commercial market. So and that's so if someone's wanting to do movies and like you only want to work on movies and those kinds of things and TV shows, Dallas isn't the place to do it. Like there's a few one-offs there, but it's a super commercial heavy market. Like we have like, I don't know, probably like at least I would almost say 50% of the food shoots probably come out of Texas. we do a lot. We do a lot of food shoots and those kinds of things here. But like when the movies come here, it's like usually like pickup days. Like they're just like little shots here and there. It's not anything big. Like so, like Alita is one of the biggest movies to come out of. It is the biggest feature film to come out of Texas that was shot solely in Texas, and that was shot in Austin. And I have a few friends that worked on that, and man, the setup for that it was massive. It was on a airstrip in Austin, and they built a whole set, and flew huge blue screens and stuff. Yeah, I was like, man, I would have loved to have been on that job. Then they showed me the picture of all the cords and cables and stuff that they had run, and man, I was like, no, I'm good. That's why I'm a grip.
Man, I remember seeing like the behind the scenes of that. They actually built out the whole city where they shoot in the movie.
Yeah, and I was super impressed by that. That almost everything is actually really there. There's only the obvious things are CGI, but as far as the actual background and stuff is all real. So it was super impressive to see that. And then I worked with one of the guys that was on that. I've worked with a few, but one of the guys, he showed me some of the videos that he recorded and stuff. And as he's walking through the town and stuff, man, and I was just like, it would have been so crazy to be in that world and just be immersed in that for however many days and months they shot.
Yeah, that's something that seems really cool when you're actually able to build something out really elaborately for a film.
Yeah, definitely. I love, man, because that's one thing you don't realize until you work on bigger stuff. Like when you're on the small, like little budget stuff or no budget stuff, you don't have money for art, for a whole art team and wardrobe and all the stuff that really, because lighting and camera work is a lot, but wardrobe and background, those all those departments, they all exist and all play a part for a reason. So when you don't have the full budget, it's not, you can tell.
Yeah, that's something we were talking about with another interview where like your location really adds to your production value, because we talked even about El Mariachi. Like that one looked like it had a bigger budget than it did, and it's like a $7,000 movie. Just being filmed in Mexico around like the bright colorful buildings really added to it.
Yeah, we just talked to director Tim Stevens, local guy. He's directing his first feature called The Ghost Lights, based on Marfa Lights. Just talking about how literally, just the beautiful scenes of West Texas, all that stuff. I looked at a trailer, man, and it really does not seem like a $7,000 movie, like he said. So he did it for super cheap, and I mean, just because, like George said, he just used all this, basically choose the environment around him that he could. So how has COVID affected your work, man? I mean, I know our industry got hit really hard with all that. So I heard you had to get like a second job. Is that right? Something like that?
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I've definitely had to pick up some extra work, and especially having, like I said earlier, having the baby now. It's applied a lot more pressure, but it's all good. But lately, the last month and a half, work's been picking up, so that's good.
Nice.
But now that now the productions are starting to get a hold on how they should handle getting us tested and those kinds of things. So it's getting better now, because that was one of the biggest issues when everything first started, is they just didn't know how to conduct, because we have to have so many people on set for any real shoot. You have to have a real crew, so it's hard to not have a lot of people around that are in, and we're always around each other and on top of each other, and in small locations. So that was one of the big issues, and work definitely dried up for a while. And I mean, it still is. Still haven't been working like I have been, but like I said, it's all picking up, and just a matter of staying staying with it and having some stick-to-itiveness and dealing with it, you know?
So far, I haven't taken a lot of production jobs, but the last one I was on during COVID, it was the first one where they were being a little bit more responsible with it, but at the same time, they're being super relaxed. Because they'll like go in, check your temperature, but we had already been in the same room, like everybody just by each other. There wasn't really a way to social distance because we're all like filming inside a small like apartment, and whoever wasn't actually doing something at that moment just stepped outside, and they would wait and until they needed them. But even like the people still inside, there was still a lot of people. So it was hard to actually maintain like a social distancing, and like the only thing we could do is check temperatures.
Yeah, we had a small COVID scare on one of our shoots. After we wrapped, about a week or two later, one of the actresses came down with COVID, and we ended up tracking back with everybody who worked on it. Turns out she was the only one, so looks like it wasn't anything related to the shoot, which was really nice. So nobody else got it. But so that was the scare we had. What about you? Have you had any COVID scares because of on sets or anything?
Well, actually, my first job back, like in June, the very first job I did after we shut down and stuff, I was out in, I believe, just outside some little small town outside of Terrell, Texas, and I was on this cowboy show, and I just because obviously I'm a big guy, as you know, and I guess just we had been on lockdown for so long, and then coming back and having to work with the mask on for so long, and we were outside in the heat and stuff, so I ended up actually having a heat stroke 3 days into the job.
Oh my God.
And had to I couldn't finish the job, unfortunately, but that was my scare. Just the masks, like it took me a while getting used to working in the masks, and like I said, I'm a big guy, so I sweat a lot, and I'm also a grip, so I'm one of the guys moving the heaviest stuff on set all the time, and I'm a big guy, so I'm moving the heavy stuff for sure. So I'm sweating a lot, and you just start waterboarding yourself pretty much. So and when I wasn't used to it, it got me.
And we talked a little bit right before the start of the interview. You say you're trying to grow your beard out. I would advise against it because having this beard and a mask, oh my God, bro. I'm so glad I work inside because like every once in a while when I don't have customers, I just step away, take it off, be like, oh my God, it's so hot.
Yeah.
Just the beard makes it so much hotter with the mask on, bro. So I would say maybe hold off and grow it out.
It's hilarious. Like I love it. Like when you put a mask on and there's just like facial hair coming out of your mask.
Yeah, I gotta.
It's hilarious. It's too funny.
What do you got?
So how has it been trying to look for work recently? Do you just try and get in touch with different contacts, or do you look online for anything available?
Yeah, so me personally, I checked the Texas film site, and they post stuff and you can get put into the database so that if people need, so in theory you can get phone calls from there, but to this date, I don't think I've ever gotten a phone call because of that. But I do on the website, the Texas film site, they post crew listings and stuff so that you can apply to. So I use that, but then most of it, 90% of it is word of mouth and who you know and the friendships and whatnot that you develop. Those are really, really, really key to making a real career in our industry because for instance, for people that don't know, like when you come on to like a set, like when you come on to a crew set, like the production, they're hiring like keys, they're hiring the department heads, and then they hire their own crew. So I get hired, I can hire whoever I want. So I'm going to hire the people that I like, my friends, because we're working 12, 15, plus hours sometimes. So you don't want to work with people you don't like. So that's why when I say it matters who you know and the friendships you're able to build, just because that's what's going to help you. Hey man, I got this job, I need some help. Oh yeah, I got you. I'm available. You available for this? And you scratch my back, I scratch your back, kind of thing. So when you first start, if you don't know anybody, it's really tough. But now that I've started to, I've got, I know people, and I'm starting production companies and PMs, production managers. They know me and are familiar with me now, so I'm getting phone calls and stuff. So that's what matters.
I think that was one of the biggest takeaways from school too, because Mr. Neely would share like a lot of his stories and being on production. He'd say sometimes he ended up doing multiple jobs on one production, and would tell us that he would have to get paid for each job that he was doing.
Damn, so
and like he would become friends with like the hairdresser, and the hairdresser would call him up for the next project.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people that do a lot of different things. And especially like with certain jobs, you can, you can jump around, and like I said, I swing, which means I work grip and electric, but I prefer to grip, just because I don't know, I'm a big guy, so moving most of the stuff isn't as heavy for me as it is a lot of other people. There's a lot of stuff that is heavy, so you got to be careful, make sure you pick up stuff right, because I've definitely hurt myself on set a few times, just picking stuff up wrong, those kinds of things.
Gotcha. So when it comes to lighting stuff, do you have your own gear, or do you just use what's provided usually? How does that work for you?
I have both, and it just, as far as like on the shoot, it just depends. On smaller stuff, I take my stuff, but obviously on bigger stuff, when you have a truck and a budget, you bring your tools and your essentials. But as far as like lights and those kinds of things, cameras, like I don't bring any of that stuff to set. I don't need that when I'm on a real shoot. But I did interviews a couple days ago, and I have like, some odds and ends, and I took with me just because it was a smaller job, and I know that we don't have a truck, and it's only a gear list of what someone put together, so there might not be something that we need in a pinch, so for instance, like bounces and little things, like have my jelly rolls and have your own gels, just little things you pick up after you're on set, and you're like, man, if I have that in my kit, that could come in handy, because you find yourself in binds a lot.
So you were talking about how music video work is creative work and stuff you like to do, that it's not much, you said there's not much of that around here. Where would you consider, if you were to move out of Texas for production work, where would you consider going?
Well, technically, I mean, everyone, I'm not going to say everyone, a lot of people will just say Atlanta, because I mean, there is a lot of stuff going on in Atlanta, and then obviously California. But me personally, Oklahoma is now they have the highest film incentives in the country, higher than Atlanta and California. So there's a lot of stuff going on, and there's a small crew there, so it's not as much. So I'm actually, that's one of my biggest back and forths in my mind right now, is if I should make the move, because I'm originally from Oklahoma. So nice. I'm thinking about just moving back home, and then just drive down here for work when I have work, just because there's a lot of, there's features and TV shows, and they just recently turned the Cox, it's like, it used to be, it's where the Hornets were playing when the Hornets were in Oklahoma City back in the day. And so they've actually turned that into or in the process of turning that into a huge sound stage and like production studios. So it's going to be, full of sound stages and different backdrops and different sets and those kinds of things. So there's a lot of stuff going on in Oklahoma, and like Scorsese was shooting up there, or was supposed to. I don't know if he ended up doing that, because I heard some stuff, but whatever. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on in Oklahoma. So that's where I'm thinking about moving if I do move out of Texas, just because I do want to do more narrative stuff, and Texas isn't the place to do it. And I want to have more work, and there's such a foothold on like the commercial market and stuff, and the circles are tight and those kinds of things. So it works here, but it's hard to come by sometimes.
Gotcha. And I mean, Oklahoma is not too far. I mean, if you really wanted to stay here, the drive is like 3-4 hours.
Yeah.
If you want to go up there.
Yeah, exactly.
Not the worst thing ever. Yeah.
But yeah, and the cost of living is what does it for me.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I can get what I'm paying. I can get a house for what I pay for my apartment.
Yeah, but the alcohol's weaker, so I don't know if I'd like to live in over there personally.
No, it's 6 point now. It's 6 point now.
Oh, damn. Okay, well, hey, you know what? You might have just convinced me to move up there.
I know they're supposed to be starting like more productions up in New Mexico after like Netflix announced that they're moving their headquarters there. They said they're also moving a lot of productions.
And that's where they did Cowboys and Aliens. They shot that there, and and that's where when I was trying to find schools, the art school that's in Albuquerque, that's where that film school was one of the schools I was thinking about going to, but New Mexico's nice. I have some friends. One of my cousins lives out there, and he just doesn't like it too much. So I don't know if I want to go out there.
I gotcha. Well, Prentice, unfortunately, I think we're just about out of time here. Honestly, because I have to go to work here in a bit.
Yeah,
no
worries.
Break the fourth wall here,
yep.
Unfortunately, man.
Yep.
But thank you so much for coming on, man. Do you have anything you want to plug, like social media or a recent project you'll be working on?
You can find me on Instagram, Film Apprentice, and it's just Film A Prentice. You know, it's just a play on words, not
Gotcha.
Apprentice, because everyone always gets thrown off on that for whatever reason. So, but no, that's about it. You can catch. Corsicano should be. It's in the works. It's in like post production and stuff. But Juneteenth, Miss Juneteenth is on Netflix. Not Netflix, Amazon, and it's making its rounds elsewhere. It's on BET, different places like that. So check it out. I'm super proud of it. It's a really really heartfelt, heartwarming movie, I guess. And I just love the aesthetics of it with the budget that we were able to do. So I'm real proud of that. But that's about it. I appreciate you guys bringing me on. Definitely, if you want, I'll come back and I can actually come to you guys so you can look at me.
Hey, man.
It'd be great to have you in person.
Absolutely, bro.
Oh, yeah.
And we do have high ceilings here, so trust me, you'll be able to fit.
Okay, perfect. Yeah,
all right, guys.
I don't need to feel claustrophobic.
Well, Apprentice, again, thank you so much. George, thank you for co-hosting. Adrian, always the MVP on the cameras, bro. Thank you so much.
Yes,
all right,
sir.
guys, you have been listening to the One Up Podcast. Thank you so much, and you will hear us in a week or two whenever we decide to post the next episode. All right, see y'all. Bye-bye.
Yes, sir. Take it easy.
Take it easy, Prentice. Thank you.